Hi everyone, and welcome to the Survey Questions video lecture. In this lecture video, I want to discuss the common types of questions used to gather data in survey research projects. There are three major categories of survey questions, or items: open-ended, closed-ended, and contingency. Open-ended questions are really straightforward. They do not suggest or include a response to the question, so the respondent is free to provide whatever response they would like. Discuss, describe, explain, how, and why are all good verbs for open-ended questions because these questions open the door to whatever the respondent wants to say. Open-ended questions are the gold star of qualitative research because they are what allows researchers to capture meanings of the important concepts in the subject's own words, a key issue for obtaining high internal validity. Closed-ended survey questions are questions in which the respondent is either provided with pre-written answers or whose answer is suggested by the question wording. Consider the first question, should I eat this? Even if you don't have the yes-no options provided on the survey, the wording of the question clearly suggests that the answer will either be yes, you should eat this, or no, you shouldn't eat this. You can go beyond simple yes-no answers and still use closed-ended questions. For example, number 3 allows the respondent to pick a description of themselves, but they must select from a series of categories that have been developed and provided by the researcher. If you remember back from the measurements module, you have to be careful when you're providing option choices to your respondent to ensure that all categories are mutually exclusive and exhaustive. Mutually exclusive means that the respondent should only fit into one category, not 2 or 3, and exhaustive means that all possible choices are provided. In question 3, respondents are given the option of it varies to indicate that they disagree with both the word traveler and homebound descriptions. I could have also used an other category for the same exhaustiveness purpose. Here's an example that really highlights the impact of open-ended versus closed-ended response options. This poll asked the respondent to identify the single most important reason that they selected the presidential candidate they voted for. The poll was offered 2 different ways. Once via a closed-ended question that had 5 specific options and an other category, and once via an open-ended question where the respondent could provide any answer they wanted. As you can see, the open-ended question obtained a lot of answers that were not reflected in the researchers' 5 options. Plus, not a single respondent mentioned energy policy when they had to provide their response in their own words. But when that option was provided to them, 6% indicated that it was their primary reason. Similarly, we see that the number of people who stated the economy was their number 1 reason went from 35% in open-ended questions all the way up to almost 60% when provided as a closed-ended response. So it's clear that using an open versus closed-ended question had a really important influence on the results that were obtained. There is a time and a place for both open-ended and closed-ended questions, but you need to be aware of what happens when you force respondents to choose from a predetermined list. The last type of question is called a contingency question. Contingency questions are not given to every survey respondent. Instead, they're provided based on the response or responses to previous questions. For example, here question 23 asks the respondent if they've ever smoked marijuana before. If the respondent says no, they skip to number 24. If the respondent says yes, though, they're asked to complete a follow-up question that asks them about the frequency of their use. You can ask a contingency question as a simple closed-ended question. The question could have read, if you smoked marijuana before, how many times have you smoked it? Then everyone would get that question. But for exhaustiveness purposes, you would have to then include a never or not applicable option for every frequency question. And the big issue with that is that if you have multiple follow-up questions, the respondent can get bored or frustrated with the survey because they keep having to put never or not applicable all the way down the survey questionnaire. Contingency questions are really helpful then because they allow the non-smoker to skip all of the follow-up questions without penalty while still not interfering with the data analysis that you'll conduct later on. Easy enough lecture video, right? Thanks for watching, everyone.